Our topic for tonight is diabetes, because I believe a lot of Filipinos have this disease, and it is just proper for us to discuss this evening. We have talked about our number 1 killer, heart disease, our number 2 killer, stroke, our number 3 killer, cancer, and along with hypertension and diabetes, they are what we call lifestyle diseases, as you can recall. And lifestyle diseases are best prevented, managed, and potentially reversed with a change in lifestyle. And so I have talked to you previous nights ago that we now have a lot of advances in medicine and medications, but still these diseases are on the rise, and that includes diabetes. The article I mentioned previous nights ago actually continued to say that one reason why Filipinos are dying from silent killers like diabetes is because we have the best fatty, risky, exotic foods, like what you can see on the screen. Okay, I know you can recognize all of them. And we also have one of the sweetest delicacies on earth. That's why, according to the World Health Organization, the Philippines now belongs to the top 15 hotspots of diabetes in the world. And they have projected that by the year 2030, it will just continue to rise. Now, according to statistics, it's almost 1 out of every 5 Filipino adults are either pre-diabetic or they're actually diabetic already. And diabetes is the leading cause of blindness in adults. It is the leading cause of amputations. It is the leading cause of kidney failure. And if you think kidney failure is a simple problem, I would say to you that it is not simple. It is very costly, and it's something you don't want to have. And 80% of diabetics will die from a heart disease. And we have always been taught that the problem is just sugar. Well, that is partly correct, but let me tell you tonight that it is also a problem about fat, taba. Okay, because sugar and fat are stored similarly. I'd like to expound on that later. Fat is stored as fat, but excess sugar is stored as fat also. Okay? Sugar, when broken down in the body, it becomes a simple sugar, glucose. And when your body has determined that this is the amount of glucose that I need for today, the rest of that will be stored in the form of glycogen. It's a process that has a lot of steps, but this is the body's way of storing something for future use. Now, what happens if there is excess glucose in the body? Now, glycogen has limits in the storage. That's around 100 grams in the liver and around 500 grams in your muscles. And the rest, what happens to the rest? The rest actually is converted and stored as fat, because fat apparently has no such limits as glycogen. And so fat and diabetes have a relationship. This is, I'd like to share to you a simplified version of your carbohydrate metabolism. When you eat foods, they have protein, they have carbohydrates, that's the sugars. You can group sugars into two. We can call it simple sugars and the complex sugars. The simple sugars are the ones that are more readily absorbed. They are found in soft drinks and in your donuts and the refined sugars that you know. While complex sugars are a bit, they're complex. They have to be broken down into simple sugars, and they're mostly found in oats, whole wheat products, and whole wheat products. They are slowly digested and absorbed as compared to your simple sugars. Now, when the sugar gets absorbed in the body, it goes to your bloodstream, of course, after passing through the liver. And for you medical students and all in the medical field out there, this is not a perfect model, but I would like everyone inside this hall to understand what happens to the sugar. So this is a rather simplified version. So this is your bloodstream and this is your cell. Cells are the basic units that make up you as a human being. Here in the bloodstream, this is where your sugar goes, and it is actually needed to be inside the cell so that it can provide fuel. Before it can go inside the cell, it has to pass by a door with a lock. And this is where insulin comes in. Insulin acts like a key so that the door can be opened. And when the door is open, sugar can then go inside the cell, where they can be used as a fuel to produce energy and be used by the cell. Now, what happens when you have diabetes? There are a lot of theories, there are a lot of mechanisms proposed, but this is one of them. According to scientists and doctors, there is a problem with there is something interfering with the work of insulin. One of that is fat. So when there's fat in there, insulin cannot do its work properly. And remember, if it is the one opening the door so that the sugar can come in, this time, sugar cannot go inside the cell. So they will just roam around outside of the cell in your bloodstream. That's why those with diabetes have high blood sugar, because the sugar is high in the bloodstream. Does it make sense? Okay. And when you have a lot of sugars in your diet, then there will just be more sugars roaming around outside of the cell. They cannot get inside the cell where they are needed. So your high sugar in the blood will cause the symptoms of frequent urination. You become thirsty. Your vision becomes blurred as your nerves are being damaged. And you have numbness in your hands and in feet when your nerves the tissues in your legs, in your foot becomes damaged also with this high sugar. There is low sugar in the cells because remember, sugar cannot get inside the cell. And so your cells are basically trying to scream, we're hungry. That's why people with diabetes are always hungry, they want to eat a lot, and they also have fatigue. This is the compound they found that causes all the damage in your tissues. It's sorbitol. It's glucose that is converted or reduced. So it causes cataracts, retinopathy, damage in the nerves in your eyes, and later on it causes blindness, and peripheral neuropathy. It destroys the nerves in your legs and your foot and your feet. The American Diabetes Association has what we call the medical nutrition therapy. And it is important at all levels of diabetes, meaning preventing, slowing the rate of complications, and managing your diabetes. And according to them, the most challenging part is determining what to eat. It's one of the hardest problems they have to tackle with their patients. Because you can mess around with somebody's life except their food. Yeah, it says, don't dare touch my plate. And you know, as doctors also have this reason that they don't really tell this to patients because They don't want their patients to feel deprived. Grabe naman si Doc, amo ganang ako niya favorite, amo ganang ibawal niya, te. You know, patients feel bad when you deprive them of the food that they want. And so most doctors just try to avoid the topic. What's in this document? The primary goal with respect to dietary fat in individuals with diabetes is to limit saturated fat, trans fat, and cholesterol. Does it sound similar? Does it sound familiar to you? There is a similarity in preventing, managing, and reversing heart disease and diabetes. So we've tackled this already. This is where you find your trans fat. I told you, just think about your favorite food, and that's it. That's trans fat. And also it is found in all the meat products. And of course, if you think about saturated fat and cholesterol, you can always think of egg, cheese, meat, and so on. Cholesterol is only found in meat products. It's never found in plant products. And if you were here during the past nights, trans fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol, how much do we need? Yes, you people are smart. 0. And they found out that if you reduce your fat, you will be improving the problem with your insulin resistance. Remember this key, if you remove this, insulin can do its work to providing an opening so that all the sugars could go inside your cell where they are needed. And the Harvard Medical School has also released this study. It's a randomized trial, thousands of participants, and they found that egg consumption is not just bad for your heart, it's also bad for people with diabetes. They found out that if you consume plant sterols, these are compounds found in plants, you will actually be lowering your cholesterol. So a plant-based diet would reduce cholesterol and prevent, as we have discussed earlier, heart disease and stroke, and this time it will also reduce your risk for diabetes. But a lot of people say, isn't diabetes a familiar or hereditary problem? Well, yes, but according to the American Diabetic Association, the current epidemic of diabetes likely reflects changes in lifestyle, leading to diabetes, increased energy intake, less physical activity, and so on and so forth. So they are convinced that the problem that the world is facing now when it comes to diabetes is more of a lifestyle problem. It's like this phrase, genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle will be the ultimate cause of your diabetes. It will be the one to pull the trigger. In other words, you will be predisposed to having diabetes, but as long as you have the proper diet and the physical activity, it will not come to you. And I have shown you this before, since parents eat this kind of food and the children also follow that kind of diet, they tend to have the same diseases, just like in diabetes. Next, you have to maintain a healthy weight. Maintaining a healthy weight is good for those who are trying to avoid heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. So for those of you who were able to come earlier, maybe you have these BMI charts. Can I see if, yes, some of you have those BMI charts. I will show it to you. This is the formula. Of course, you need a calculator for that, or you can find an app for that in Google Play or apps. This is your BMI chart. I placed the formula over there. And all you have to do is look on the left side, look for your height. I'll have myself as an example. Then you look on the top rows. You will see there's pounds and kilograms. You just look for your weight over there, and the box where these two intersect is your BMI. Towards the blue side is underweight. Towards the orange and the red side is overweight. And you have to stay within these green boxes. So that's pretty easy, I believe. So you can use your BMIs and try to avoid this one. What causes the most weight gain? If you've been here in the previous nights, I know you know the answer. Is it chicken or beef or pork? In a study, one of the largest studies ever made about diet and diseases, it's the EPIC study made in Europe. Hundreds of thousands of participants, and they found out that all types of meat will actually increase your weight, but there's one particular group that they found with the highest increase in weight, and that's poultry. What is the best way to reduce your weight? Is it starving yourself until you lose all your weight? Well, I have friends who do that. They just eat like 3 to 4 spoons of rice and then they say that's it. But between those meals, when they have their snacks, they have this. And that's a lot of calories and it's loaded with fat. And so they don't lose weight after. So yes, it's the same recommendation. They do not recommend starving yourself, having a very low carbohydrates in your diet. Exercise alone, I have friends also who do exercise every day. They jog every day, 1 to 2 hours, but they never lose weight. Because if you eat the foods that are actually causing weight gain, doing this is like, eating this is like trying to empty a pail of water using a dipper with the faucet fully on. Can you empty that pail fast enough? No, you can try. But as long as there's something you're putting in your body that's increasing your weight, you cannot really say that your exercise will be effective in reducing your weight. And so the best way to actually reduce your weight and to maintain a healthy weight is both a proper diet and exercise. So that you can prevent the problems that go with diabetes like blindness, amputations, kidney failure, and heart disease. So, tonight this is actually just part 1 of diabetes. In summary, you should avoid sugary foods, avoid trans fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol. You eat more fruits and vegetables, and you maintain a healthy weight. Tomorrow will be part 2 of diabetes, and we will be answering questions such as this. Can I eat fruits if I have diabetes? Because they say it has a lot of sugar. So you'll know the answer tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you for listening and good evening.